Now, I've noticed some weird things when it comes to working with text in Sketch, and I can't tell whether or not it's because of the way the program is, or maybe it's the way I'm thinking of it, or perhaps there's not even an option that I'm familiar with yet. But let's go ahead and try and type a headline here. I'm going to say follow the bouncing ball. I add dot 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 at the end of that. I have a real specific style. So there's already a style applied to this. I'm going to go ahead and make a new style. Any old font will do. How about that? See, now I just said it doesn't matter what the style is, but I'm getting picky with my fonts. I really need to stop. All right. Let's go with this one. So immediately down here, we have a few things. We have obviously the size and the font up here. It goes up to 288. These are all the system standard sizes for automatically sizing something. You can go in and write your own up here or in the other more general font palette. I don't want it red. Let's say I want it gray. And the character spacing seems a little tight to me right now, so I'm just going to open that up. This is awfully heavy of a font. So this all looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is go ahead and click plus. I'm just going to add it down here as a style. You see the word new. Instead, I'm going to rename it RQ. So now, let's say I decide I want to put a gradient on this text. I'm going to check off fill, add a gradient, pick my gradient color. Then I'll hit back. Now, if I want to go ahead and say, highlight the text, you can see now it's back to being gray. Double click, it's gray again. I don't know why. Maybe it's trying to tell me that it's active. If I go and click on here to change the color, you can see I have no control over that. Also, you can see my style is no longer black. It's sort of gone away, or it's no longer dark gray. It's sort of light gray. Now, if I uncheck this fill, it goes to being light gray. Now, the problem doesn't seem to be just with gradients. Let me go ahead and expose something. Let's say I pick dark gray here. I'm going to go ahead and kill this fill. Just add a new fill that's red. So now if I want to go and change the color, you see the color's disabled still. So if I uncheck this red, I select this and uncheck the red, you see it stays red now. Even though I unchecked it, a solid color will stay on text. And of course, I can go back and change the letters like that. So I can change it back. Now on top of this all, if I click on more here, my style is now back at being gray. I can go ahead and change it from here, but I'd have to add the new style in order for that gray to show up. So if I go and I change all this to being yellow, and then decide, oh, you know what, I want this new yellow one to be the same style, I can go ahead and pick that from the list. You have to pick another one first and then pick it, and applies it. So there's some weird quirks when working with text, especially with styles and colors. So you have to be careful, and I found that the best way to do it is just don't use fills at all on text. If you have text, use always this sort of text color here to change your color. And just stay away from fills unless you're planning on making this thing a graphic. That's probably the best thing to do. Alright, now that we've tackled that, and I've kind of done my rant, I'm going to go ahead and hold down Option, remember, and hold down Shift so it stays sort of straight. Make a second box. I'm going to generate some fake text with my buddy Little Ipsum. What a great app on the Mac App Store. Goes in, bunch of fake text here. Let's give it a different font. That looks good. Then we're going to turn down the size to, say, 13. So you can see here, I can resize this if I want to. Later on, I'll just crank up the size. Maybe I want some more fake text. I'm really going to hand it to the guys that created this little Ipsum program. It's just fantastic. So maybe this is a story about the ball or something, but you can see essentially you can't make the block smaller than the text. What you can do is make it more narrow or less narrow, but you can't make it less than how it fills. Now this is different from, say, InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator. They'll just hide the text because that's what they assume you want to do. Also notice here that there's no hyphenating by default. Since this is going to be HTML text, or it assumes it's going to be HTML text, hyphenating is not on by default. And from what I can tell when I've done my digging, there is really no hyphenating options, even though there is line options, which is nice. You can kind of open that up. You can see that there. Maybe I'll go a little bit more. I'll drag this up and I'll just give us some separation. And again, because I'm not using fills, if I want to do something like a link, I can select something, turn it blue here, hit back, and put on a text decoration to make it look like a link. You can also, along with the line spacing, do paragraph spacing, which separates your paragraphs for you. And the last thing, of course, is character spacing, which essentially squishes your letters together. You can see you can get kind of crazy with that. This is also called tracking or kerning a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that away and set it to its default. So there you have it. That's sort of how you work with text inside of Sketch. Again, stay away from fills if you can. It's really going to just ruin your day. It really ruined mine. See, that was a little weirdness there when I just hit undo. But here's a red fill, uncheck, everything is still red. Now I have to go and take things and put them back different colors. So fills are a little bit weird. They kind of blow away your font color settings. So use your colors and your fonts separately. If you're interested in finding Little Ipsum, I believe it's on the Mac store. I don't know if it's free or a couple bucks, but just type in Little Little Ipsum, Ipsum, like Lorem Ipsum, and give it a search, or just do a Google for it and you can figure it out. I'm going to save this file so you can look at it, and I'm going to switch it to Helvetica just so I can guarantee you guys have this font. And I'll go ahead and size this down. Before I go, I just want to tell you that you may have noticed that in this palette and over here, there's really no bold italics commands. Well, they really sort of, from what I can tell, expect you to execute this on your own. If you want something bold, then highlight it and hit Command B to bold it. If you want something italics, go ahead, highlight it, and hit Command I to italicize it. These would be the same keyboard shortcuts you would use if you were just typing something out, right? Follow the bouncing ball. Now, before I send you off on this text lesson, I want to show you one other cool thing that Sketch can do. And I'm going to do it up here. I'm going to follow the bouncing ball and make a copy of it. I'm even going to drum up the size so it's really big. And I'm going to turn off the shadows for a second. So right now this is text. But in Illustrator, if you right-click, you had a command called Create Outlines. And if I right-click here, you can see Convert to Outlines still exists. And essentially, once I convert something to outlines, I have individual paths, and you can see in the layers palette how crazy this looks, but I have paths for each letter. You can see they're not connected in any way, shape, or form. They can kind of go into each other and get funky. But each of these paths, of course, I can go in and edit the shape forms, just like I could anything else inside of Sketch. So I'm going to save all this for you, and we're going to move on very soon. But I just wanted you guys to be aware of the fact that you could create outlines based on text the same way you would in Illustrator. And that's all inside of Sketch. This will be saved and exported so you can check it out. And again, if you have any questions during these classes, feel free to go to the Contact Ryan section on quinteldesigns.com, and I'll be there to try and answer your question as soon as I can. So coming up next, we're going to talk about exporting CSS from within Sketch. It's pretty cool, and it's coming up next.